So I made this video for anyone who took our marriage assessment and you want to know, okay, so what do we do with this based on the scores and what our marriage looks like? And ultimately, I want to help you get a picture of, okay, can our marriage work? Like, can this happen for us? So in the assessment, we talked about 10 different areas: shared responsibility, shared activities, communication, sexual intimacy, money, parenting, vision and values, extended family, work-life balance, and personal growth. We went through all of these things to get kind of an assessment on where you're at. So here's what I want to give you an idea of. Inside every box is a threat. So here's a couple living this life. And when you get married, you have all of these areas that you have to face as a couple when you get married. And so just like unpacking and moving into a house, it takes work and you got to figure out some stuff. What tends to happen with life is we can maybe be so busy, maybe we don't even know how to do this thing called marriage. Frankly, no one knows how to be married when they get married. And if we don't get any kind of support, we can live our life in this house right here with all these boxes in the middle of the house that are not unpacked. And so if you can imagine living in a house that's not unpacked and all the boxes are brought in, but we don't clear them out, we don't figure out where to put things, it'd be very annoying. This happens in a lot of relationships. So let's talk about inside every box is a threat. Each one of these areas you're looking at on your screen will expose fears that you don't want to face. Each area also points us to change that we don't want to make. And each box represents work that needs to be done. And who wants to do work? But inside every box is also a great opportunity. Unpacking the box enables us to overcome our fears. The day you got married, you may have had desires, certainly for each other, dreams for a future, but both people, we have fears going into this relationship. We have insecurities. We have things about our life that maybe we're kind of hiding away and we don't really know who we are. But the reality is, these boxes, to face any of them, is going to bring us right face to face with fears that we have. And so it feels more comfortable to not open these boxes, but actually opening these boxes and facing them is how we overcome our fears. Each area also points us to change that will make us better as a person. Like, we don't tend to like change, but the reality is facing these boxes is how we have change that makes us better as a whole person. And lastly, each box that we unpack will bring benefit to our entire life. It's not about just getting our marriage better. Working on these boxes will make us better for everything. Now, let's talk about this. The longer we wait to unpack the boxes, the harder it becomes to unpack them. When a couple is young and married, and maybe life is forcing them to figure out money, they don't have a lot of money, so they are forced to get on the same team and figure out what they're going to do with money. Now, other people, they have the disadvantage of having enough money to not really work on things, never really combine the finances, never learn to get on the same page financially. And so the finances box never gets unpacked. And so the longer we wait to unpack these boxes, we're probably exhausted, depleted, and frustrated from living this way. And we're more angry with each other than we are in love with each other. Our fears have become greater because we're not having any fun. We're not seeing the good side of marriage. All we experience are the frustrating things, the fearful things, the things that are painful. That's all we experience. So our fears are being fed every day. We have trouble saying hello to each other. And you wonder, how can we talk through major issues when we don't even say hi to each other anymore? So what if we don't unpack the boxes? Well, nothing's going to change except for getting worse. If we get divorced, we change our problems. The problems may actually get worse after divorce. And maybe this thought that if we get divorced, maybe we're leaving our greatest opportunity. So how do you unpack the boxes when you don't trust each other? Realize that there was a time when you didn't even know each other, yet you got married. Think about that. You were human beings that had never even met, and yet somehow you met someone and then ended up marrying them. I mean, that's a miracle. Think about that. It's a miracle. You married someone that maybe a year or 2 or 3 years ago, you had never even seen them with your eyes or met them. So if the miracle of marrying someone you never knew can happen, why can't the small miracle of learning how to be happy with someone that I've lived with, why can't that small miracle happen? Also, throughout history, courageous people have been facing and overcoming problems in order to build the life they long for. We see it in our movies. We read it in the history books. There are people in our lives all around us. This is the story of their life. They faced problems, overcame problems, and built the life they longed for. Unpacking these boxes together is how you build trust with each other. Oftentimes we think, I'll trust someone as long as nothing goes wrong. Really, trust is built when you face tough stuff together. Also realize this. Realize that you would have had these same types of issues with anyone else you married. In marriage, we tend to get locked up and think, boy, it's this person, it's the way they are. And what we don't tend to realize is how we are. And we also don't realize that, these problems, I would have had them with anybody. The question is not, do we have these problems? The question is, do we face these problems? And are we bold enough, courageous enough, loving enough to face them together? So I'm almost finished. This really isn't just about your marriage. It's about your whole life. Will you be the person you were made to be? Will you experience the great joys of what life was made for? Things like purpose, freedom, and love. Maybe marriage brings us to our this great ultimate frustration and pain. On one hand, marriage, is it the pathway to everything I want in life? Or is marriage holding me back from everything I want in life? That's a deep question to ponder to oneself. So what is required of you to take this journey? It's similar to signing up for workouts with a trainer at the gym. Will you allow yourself to be challenged concerning how you do your life and marriage? Will you sign up for that? We kind of understand going to a gym and this trainer is forcing us to do things and telling us we need to do this differently and we need to do this hard thing and we need to eat differently. And we sign up for this person to point us to be different. But can we do that in marriage? What else is required? Will you take steps outside of your comfort zone? Will you be willing to be wrong? Will you willing to be wrong about things that are really important to you? Will you be willing to be wrong with things that hit close to your heart? Here's something else required. You must believe that the building of your marriage is worth it. And I know that question can certainly bring you to a place of, I don't know. It's when you get in a spot in marriage where you're just like, we can't keep doing this. And it feels like the question is, do we stay together or not? I think the question is, are we going to build this or not? I've seen people in marriages that are frustrating, and if divorce made things better, sometimes I'd be like, just leave this thing. But oftentimes divorce only makes things worse. I think the question is, are we going to build this or not? So building it is simply, each box represents some work. It requires us to simply change and grow and learn how to love your spouse. This I believe with all my heart. If you build your marriage, it will build your life. So I'll finish with a simple visual. If you did the assessment, it gave you a score. And there's like a teeter-totter. And imagine if your score is below 50, you're somewhere over here. And your marriage is going in a direction where there's nothing but frustration. It's just exhausting. It's stealing from your life. Over here, this marriage that we want, that's powerful and life-giving, it can feel like it's impossible. It can feel completely impossible. The good news is, you don't have to jump from here to here. You simply step from here to here. And something happens right here at this point. The teeter-totter flips. And when you get to this place, the momentum starts going in this direction to the marriage that's life-giving, full of hope, joy. You want to be in the same room. Your kids feel more secure because they like who you are together. The home has peace. You both like being there. You're on the same page with all of these areas of your life. And I'll close by just going back to this visual. You do not have to be perfect in any of these boxes. All of these boxes simply need to be somewhere around a 70% when it comes to agreement. In the reality in your life, some of these areas might be like 30% agreement. And this is a really frustrating place to be in, very scary. But it's just a couple awkward steps. It's a couple awkward steps, a couple awkward conversations, a couple awkward decisions to get to this area in any of these boxes. Can you do it? Why not? Why can't you do it? If you have the boldness to even fill out the answers to the questions on the marriage assessment, if you have the courage to do that, then you have the courage and the capability to move your marriage together from where you are to where you want to be. You are worth it as individuals to do this for your lives. Go take on the day.